It's good to be able to be with you today as we look at our new memory verse found in Revelation 3:20. It is a verse that we are quite familiar with. We've heard it a lot in church, and many of us have even memorized it. Revelation 3:20, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me." One of the important things is to see it within its context again, and verses 15 and 16 of chapter 3 help us see that context as Jesus is standing at the door and knocking. Who is he speaking to? It says, "I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would that thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm," right? Because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. And we all know what lukewarm water is like, right? We would rather have it cold or hot. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, because you are lukewarm, you have become complacent in your Christian life. You've become more concerned about your physical life, maybe the job that you have, your finances, the relationships you have with other people, a position of power. And so you're more interested in the world than in a relationship with God. And so we see that Jesus Christ is standing at the door and say, "I stand at the door and I knock." And so we look at our diagram and we see that the 4 times, "I stand at the door, I knock, I will come, and I will sup," right? So this is what he wants to do. And we notice what Jesus is doing. He says, "I stand at the door and knock." And those things are a little bit important. To stand and knock is used in the Old Testament in Song of Solomon in chapter 5 and verse 2. It says, "I sleep, but my heart waketh. It is the voice of my beloved that knocketh, saying, Open to me." And so here we see the love or the compassion of the one standing and knocking. And then in Luke chapter 12 and verse 36 it says, "And ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord, when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately." And so here, our responsibility, okay? We are responsible to the Lord, to the one who is over us. And so he's standing at the door and he is knocking. And so this would be what Jesus is doing because he loves us as believers. And he is standing and knocking at the door of complacent church members, people who are not doing and living the way they should be. They're not putting Jesus Christ first. Now, some people will use this verse for salvation, and it's true. Jesus does call the unbeliever to come, right? And but they need to hear his voice, and they need to open the door, as we see in John chapter 10 about the good shepherd. My sheep hear my voice, and so they need to respond correctly. But in the context, it's primarily speaking to a complacent church member, okay? Not to be unbelievers outside the church, but it's still applicable. So Jesus is standing and he wants to come in. That's what Jesus is doing. Come in, and he wants to what? Come in and sup or eat. He wants to come in and eat with us, right? "I stand at the door and knock. I will come into him and will sup with him." This is what we get to do if we have the right relationship. Okay, what we get communion. We get a relationship that grows. I will come in to him, I'll come, the door will open, I will enter, and I will eat with him, and he will eat with me. Now, in the ancient world, a meal invitation to an estranged person opened the way for reconciliation. And so if we are not in this place where we are eating with him and he with us, we don't have the right relationship, right? So we have communion, here we're having relationship. And this is where we should be. Okay, this is where you and I should be today. We should be eating, and we should, with him and he with us. In other words, we should be walking in obedience. We should be in the Word, into prayer. Christ should come first. We should desire that our lives would glorify God. When we look for a new job or a job, we want it to glorify God. When we look at our finances, we want them to glorify God. So everything comes back to God. We sup with him and he with us. And then this is whether it's happening or not. If any man hear my voice and open the door. Okay, this is the obedience. It's not like we have to beg God to come with us and have communion with us and help us to grow spiritually into him. He says, you hear my voice, open the door, and I'm in. I'll eat with you, and you will grow with me. And so it's very important that you and I understand Jesus offers to accept and renew intimate fellowship with those who repent. So if he has to knock to get back where we should be, then we need to open the door and let him come in. We have to hear the voice, open him, and eat with him. It all comes back to our relationship with Jesus Christ. And so let's examine our relationship this week as we walk with him. Are we walking in obedience? Is he given first place in our life? And are we growing spiritually?